Welcome back, and we are covering the most important points that were tackled today in a Story of a Nation conference. This conference, which started its activities today in the new administrative capital, and it's going to continue for 3 days with the attendance of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Prime Minister Dr. Mostafa Madbouli, and a number of ministers. In fact, today a number of files which were tackled, a number of messages were sent, a number of speeches by top officials and ministers, and also the comments of the President were very important to shed more light on this. We are very much delighted to have with us live here in the studio Engineer Mostafa Nagaey, our economic expert. Thank you very much for being with us, Engineer Mostafa.
Thank you.
And let's start immediately with what happened today. In fact, it seems that those 3 days are going to be historical days, as the President said only a few minutes ago that no officials would speak the way I am speaking, saying the facts, the truth, the condition as is, and asking all Egyptians to be patient, to work and work and work to get over all obstacles and to put an end to all crises. Let's start with what happened in the morning in the inaugural session. Let's start with Prime Minister Dr. Mostafa Madbouli and to speak about what he said. But before going into these details, let's talk about vision and achievement. Why those two words were chosen? Because the vision is related or connected away with achievements. Which comes first?
I'm really delighted with the title of Vision and Achievements, because when His Excellency President Sisi started to talk, he mentioned the difference at the time of 2011 and today, and what was the country looking about. There was a political crisis, there was economical crisis, there was a very hard time for anybody to try to improve and to work. But that's why there was a vision. They set a vision to, and he talked to the Egyptian. You think how Egypt would like to be, how you like the country to be. So there was a vision. This is the meaning of the vision. And then the Prime Minister, Dr. Mostafa Madbouli, started to take the vision according to comparison with some countries which was in the same time, 40, 50 years ago, was similar on the same food step with Egypt, like Malaysia, like Singapore, like China, like India. So, and then they took the vision, how these countries have improved and how long it took them to do that. So there was axis and pillars to depend how you move. And this was the meaning of the vision. So they talk about a pillar of increasing the economic growth rate. They talk about taking care of the less income
most needy
families,
brackets or low income brackets.
And then the input of the private sector. And he mentioned that was the vision, that all these countries try to choose only two of these pillars. Not they couldn't do the three of them. But and this was the vision at the end. The achievements, he talked about several achievements in all the sectors. So we have been talking about industry, about agriculture, about tourism, about education, about health, communications, oil sector, and all this was moving aside to try to increase the living life of the people.
The standard of living of the people.
Yeah, through Takaful Wukarama and
Decent Life Initiative,
yeah,
yes.
Both of them. So that's why at the end he said, and he mentioned something which I think it was corrected, that what His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi did in Haya Karima, it was really improving more than 4,100 villages to increase the living life.
More
to
than 15 million Egyptians.
Yeah, to improve the quality of water supply and the water sewage and the electricity and roads and bridges. And they were talking about that they are reallocating the population of the Egyptians not to live only on 7%, but they are reaching 14%.
And Prime Minister Dr. Madbouli said that the second phase of Hayat Karima, or Decent Life, already launched to serve more Egyptians and to change the lives of more Egyptians. But if you permit me, I'm going to go to each, in brief, to each minister in his speech or her speech. And to start with the Minister of International Cooperation, for example, Dr. Rania Al-Mashat, when she said that the International Cooperation Ministry is the link between Egypt and international financial institutions, because this is very important to have these international institutions having confidence that the environment is paved for more investors to come and more huge projects to take place on the ground, and to have the word instability, which was repeated more than once, by the way, in the president's speeches or comments in the different sessions. How do you see the trust or confidence of international institutions in the Egyptian state to finance mega projects and also the small and medium enterprises?
Okay, first of all, as we all heard, that there was visibility studies, because many people was talking about that some projects are spent too much, and the value and the total money which Egypt spent during the last 10 years is equal with the international limits and the standards. So they spent about 9.4 trillion pounds, which is consisting about 19% of the total GDP of Egypt in the last 10 years, which was with the standards of the international requirements for these financial funds. So at the end, what is going on the ground is that the projects are there, investors are coming. It's only a matter that we see, we are, as His Excellency Prime Minister mentioned, that we were moving in environment of obstacles in Egypt, and now we are turning to a global environment of obstacles. But at the end, Egypt is still in cooperation with all the financial funds, and we can see that programs are still there. Of course, we are worried a little bit about the loans and so on, which is harming the balance of Egypt in general. But at the end, we are still working, and these projects are giving important attraction for some investors, as we see in the green hydrogen. I mean, it's improving. In the solar energy, it is improving. In the agriculture, it's improving.
She mentioned Bimban solar station as
of course,
of special importance, because it's really it acted as a turning point in the field of renewable energy in Egypt, and it was mentioned also by His Excellency Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy, Dr. Mohammed Shakir Marqabi, in his speech. But I wanted to connect that with some points which were mentioned in the speech of Dr. Tariq Al-Mullah, for example. Because when he said that Zohri field was another turning point, and having this confidence of Eni, the Italian huge international company, to come and to invest here and to end the first phase of the project in only 28 months instead of 60. This was a record, and I think this is going to be written in the history of this company.
Most of the projects, as we mentioned, that we heard today, a sort of achievements which not many people know. It was about a timing limit, which was really very fast to implement and to start to have these projects on service. And we heard also thanking from the president to His Excellency Kamil al-Wazir about constructing either the new capital or another projects in only 1 year instead of 4 and 5. So there was a fight with the time, as we say, it's a battle
race
with
against
the
time,
time
and
in all the projects.
we don't have the luxury
not
to waste
only
more
on the
time.
oil sector,
Yeah.
but we have to thank most of the ministers. Of course, some ministers we have to speak about, but we are waiting to see them tomorrow and the day after tomorrow.
Sure.
Especially for the high prices of the food and the increase in this issue. But at the end, what we see is that Egypt is moving in different sectors successfully, and a lot of investors are coming day by day. This is the reality. Yeah.
The word day by day, is it a little bit exaggerating, or really
No,
it's a day by day?
It's really because not all what is done is published yet. But we are, let us say, connected with the Ministry of Industry. And he was having a very good...
This is it,
yeah.
because I wanted to move to the speech of His Excellency Minister Samir, Minister of Trade and Industry, when he talked about a number of statistics, and he had such a comparison between Egypt 2014 and Egypt 2023.
Correct.
And when he spoke about the package or the series of incentives which were announced by the president recently to promote and to boost the industrial sector. But the president said something which even is more important. He said that if they need more land, we are going to give them, but with serious efforts on the ground. And if other incentives are required, we will give them. How do you see this as a new launch, or a launch of a new era when it comes to industrial zones, industrial complexes, encouraging new entrepreneurs or startups, you name it?
We can say that at least millions of square meters of industrial zones were offered. And as we mentioned before, that it's not only the land, it's the infrastructure and the registrations as well. That's why His Excellency Prime Minister, he talked also about improvement of the logistic service of the government in general, how to make the government produce more and to be attractive, to try to attract investors. So in the industrial zones, they are doing, I think, the best. They are trying to facilitate all obstacles, especially for the pricing, for the time, the debits and the loans. They are giving...
Tax exemptions?
Yes.
Land allocated?
Yeah.
Golden license?
Correct.
And the
All,
ability,
yes,
or the ability to extend all these incentives more and more with one condition.
with tax,
Production,
yeah,
serious efforts on the ground, not to waste time.
more and more is the tax less rates. And this was a sort of attraction to try to give possibility for the investors to come and to use all their capitals in production. So you have to minimize the price of the land, to extend the time of payment, and to minimize the taxes. So, and this was
There's
giving
full
by
exemption,
his,
sir.
yeah,
Full exemption of taxes for
for
5
years, and then
And
you
then
can increase.
it
Depends
boosted, it can be enhanced.
about the added value. It have, of course, nobody is going to exempt for nothing. You should evaluate and calculate the added value of the product, and this was mentioned clearly.
Yes.
But at the end, this is a very good, as we say in the economy, good burst for the economy. It's a very good burst. And we have been talking before about good departure as well. We should be always flexible when we are inviting the investors, and also if they like to move, you should be facilitating this to them, because this means that you have a really healthy environment for investment. So we heard all of that today. We heard that there is still mega projects because this
Let
is
me
only
be
10
more
years.
specific.
It's
What
only 10 years.
the state should do more to attract the private sector and the investors in different fields, in different domains to invest here in Egypt. And here I'm not only talking about the huge projects, but even the small and medium enterprises. How to let them know that they guarantee that they are going to benefit from the atmosphere or the paved environment.
Okay, as I do believe that the SMEs in Egypt is the mega power for the economy. Okay, and we have heard about a lot of projects which is concerned about the SMEs, but my belief is that you have to gather the small together to be medium and gather the medium to be bigger.
Financial inclusion?
It's a sort of legislations which will facilitate this, the small to come into clusters together. And I think this is the best way, and I think the government is working also for that. And they mentioned that they will announce something about that in the coming few weeks. But this is the main way, because now we are living in a world which needs giants. Giants are controlling the world. And the SMEs you cannot even finance, because you will disturb the balance between in the competition in the market. So you have to bring them up together to join in a cluster or in a cooperative, in like in agriculture or whatever, so they work as one bigger unit. This will increase their competitiveness, and they will get a better result at the end, because the competition everywhere in the world is very violent nowadays.
Also, an important message which was sent by Her Excellency Minister of International Cooperation, Dr. Rania Al-Mashad. She said that the citizen, the Egyptian citizen, is the core of interest for any project, whatever it is. And here we are talking about the Egyptian citizen at large, whether a high class citizen or low income citizen. The layman in the street is the most important element of the whole story. Qualifying youth cadres, qualifying youth leaders, technical education, a lot of elements were or points were highlighted in this regard. If you want to elaborate on that too.
I can tell you that, of course, we heard about the finance for education with different types of schools, which was something new for Egypt, because you are changing according to what the international market is language. Okay, so everybody is talking about different types of education. And also I have to mention about training, which Ministry of Industry and Trade is giving a good respect for that.
Social responsibility.
Yes, but we need a lot. It still needs a lot. We are training exporters. We are training traders. We are training farmers. You have to continue training, because training is bringing the updated information and the data and technology to you. So, of course, Egyptian people are the core, but we have to take care of these issues. So training, I'm concerned about training a lot in all the fields.
Investing in the human resources is the highest level of investment, if I may call it this way. Also, another important message, I'm calling them messages because
it's messages, correct.
Every statement, every phrase in all the speeches of whether the ministers, the prime minister or the president, in his comments after the speech of every minister, it's a message in itself. The president said in one of his comments regarding, I'm not going to say, he said it this way. He said that no official
Correct.
is going to speak the way I am speaking.
Yeah.
And he said that transparency and being sincere is the most important thing. Asking all Egyptians to work and work and work in addition to be patient. How do you see this in front of all the mega projects we are witnessing? I mean, many people would ask, 1 million fadans here, the New Delta, Tushka, Sharq al-Uwaynat, Dhuhr field, many discoveries, huge industrial projects, industrial complexes. Why I'm saying that while in the same time I'm working that hard in all fields at the very same time?
I would like to hear from the president that that the private sector should be doing a bigger role than the government at the time being, because even with the government and with all the ministries, and the full respect to them, but at the end you have to deal with the private sector, because the private sector is much faster. He is implementing and transforming the technology much faster. So when we talk about the Ministry of Communication, let us say, they have increased a lot the services, as we mentioned, in the post offices, in the notar offices. All the services now are online. You can do it that, and thanks God for that. But the private is having more and more facility in this respect. Also in the agriculture sector, okay, they are having.
I mentioned that because of the agriculture sector, because only a few minutes ago the president said that 1 million more fedans are going to be reclaimed. Isn't it that huge?
There was a protocol signed 2 days ago between, I think, the Institute of the Climate Change with the Ministry of Communication about having the mother stations, satellites, to try to give the assistance and awareness to the farmers. And I've been talking with them 1 day before. Please give the space to the private sector, because he is much more faster, and he can go to the SMEs and try to gather them in clusters much faster. Okay, because he will give training as well. So that's why we can combine together the government and the private sector. I have to return back to the beginning of the speech of His Excellency Dr. Madbouli, when he mentioned that they started with 2 pillars, which is increasing the economical growth rate and taking care of the less income families. But at the end, the time for the private sector to try to be on service, as we say, much more than what we are seeing now. For sure, we will catch more time and try to increase our added value. Because you remember we talked before about exports of agriculture, that the average unit per export in the agri-fresh in Egypt is about $550. While if you compare it with Spain or Italy, Spain is about 1,250 euro, and Italy is 1,600. And the difference is technology and varieties, and this can't be done by the government. It should be done by the private.
Mostafa, give me a promise that this issue we are going to discuss in detail in our programs on Nile TV International, because I really enjoy our discussion, and we do have a lot to speak about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, we're running out of time. In a few minutes, we are going to have our top stories. Stay tuned on Nile TV International. And we promise that we're going to follow minute by minute all the activities of a Story of a Nation conference, which started its activities today and is continuing for 3 days. We were very much delighted to have with us live in the studio Engineer Mostafa, Nagaey, our economic expert. With all my love, this was Nina Abdurrahman.